Hey there, everybody, and thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link Virtual Studios. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is off today. Stan Robinson Jr. is here. How you doing today, Stan?
Fabulous, Bob. Good to be back after a short vacation.
Good for you?
So, yes, indeed. Excited
Good.
about diving into this topic here.
Yeah, this topic is bigger than a lot of people may realize when they first look at the title, and that's because a lot of salespeople know they need to start more conversations. We every single one of us out there know that. What they don't know is how to do that without defaulting to a pitch. Dun dun dun, pitches. Ugh. Today's episode is about a different approach. Instead of prospecting by selling, you'll prospect by you interviewing your prospects. See what we did there? You have to invite the right people, your right people is what I mean by that, into a meaningful conversation. You get to learn from them, create content around their insights, and that part's really important. And then use that process to deepen relationships, expand your network, and create natural follow up opportunities. In short, this is a trust first prospecting method, rather, almost no one knows about. And because no one knows about it almost, that's because we created it and we're really just rolling this out now. So hopefully, a lot more people will be doing this. Now, before we go on, we have an ebook about this entire process. It's at socialsaleslink.com slash interview. And if you'll give me just a second for the people who are with us live, I'm going to bring up a QR code that you can, the moment I find it, where did it go? There it is. Yep. So we have a QR code up there as well as a ticker scroll on the bottom, socialsaleslink.com slash interview. So today's show is going to be a little different because we're going to be talking about the 30,000 foot view of things. The ebook actually gives you the steps for using this process, the specific steps for using this process. So they actually work together. There's going to be some adjacent, I won't say different things, but adjacent things in there that we will not be talking about here in the podcast, because since talking about steps is absolute death for a podcast episode, we'll let you read about exactly how you can do this in your own time. So, any preliminary thoughts before we get started on prospect by interview, Stan?
Yes, this is a prime example of one of the things that we talk about all the time, which is slowing down your outreach to
Hmm.
speed up your outcome. So this is about as close as you can get to the opposite of cold calling. This is the very other end of the spectrum. And it's a longer term view of building relationships. So this is not one where you're going to start it this week and start converting leads next week. This is something that takes some time, but it will be well worth it, especially with high value uh, contacts that you want to develop relationships with.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to put it. You're not going to get immediate results from this, but the results that you are going to get are going to be much more worth it, especially because, as you'll see as we detail everything, you are going to be building trust with these people who you're talking to. And with it, if you do it the right way, which means don't pitch, among many other things that we're going to be talking about, but and you're going to hear that a lot too, but it's really it's that important. But as you build the relationship, as you build it around trust, as you build it around gaining value from them, as well as just listening to them. My God, when is the last time you've been in a conversation, a sales conversation, when you've actually listened to someone? I mean, we do that all the time here, but I bet there are people out there who are like, yeah, I really don't listen. I'm just concerned about hitting my dial out quota or whatever. Um, this is it's a different way to do things, but we think in the long run it's a better way to do things. So again, that ebook is at socialsaleslink.com /interview. So let's get the process started. Stan?
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about why this approach works, because essentially what you're doing is reaching out to someone that's a potential prospect or someone very close to a potential prospect and asking for their insights about a topic that's relevant to their industry. So, one of the reasons that this is effective is that the focus is exclusively on them. Doesn't have anything to do with your offerings, although obviously there's a relationship between what you have to offer and the people that you're reaching out to. But the outreach to the person, asking for their insights on a specific topic that's relevant for their industry, which is complementary to them, because you're reaching out to them asking for their insights. You're not asking for a sales conversation, which you're going to hear over and over again, as Bob mentioned. Um, so the focus is on the insights that they bring. You can let them know that you'll be using it for an ebook or to create other a post, and of course you want to let them know up front, because you will be sharing their content, which benefits them as well, because it gives them credibility. It gives them a chance to demonstrate their expertise to the world, so to speak. So you'll be asking them questions, and we'll dive into a little bit more about the importance of asking good questions. Um,
Yes.
yep, about their industry, about potential challenges that they may be facing, um, where they see the industry going. These types of questions that give them a chance just to shine, because a lot of professionals don't get a chance to show the world, so to speak, their expertise and their perspective on their industry. Bob, anything additional that comes to mind?
Yeah, I guess the only other thing is that so many of these people do get pitched to right away. They get sales calls and discovery calls that are obviously tilted towards one goal and one goal only, and that's eventually to get them to buy. I mean, they get all that stuff all the time. When you ask for insight instead of attention, I think that the conversation feels different immediately. And you're going to stand out in their minds, not only just stand out in general, but more than likely stand out very positively in their minds, that if for some reason you're not a match or whatever, they will feel more than happy to recommend you to other people, just because you've already built that relationship, built on value and built on trust with them. So, definitely not a cold call, not a one call close type of thing or anything like that. But the outcomes, while they may be a little bit farther out, they are definitely more quality relationships than one normally gets started on cold calls. There are some people who cold call who can really get into relationship building, and kudos to them. Most people aren't like that. That's one of the many reasons why that I like this way to do things.
Yep, yep, very true.
Yep.
Great.
So with that, let's go to what a prospect by interview really is. It's a campaign. So this is a campaign. Don't get us wrong. This isn't like you're going out willy-nilly and there's no process to it and there's no goals to it or anything like that. All of that does exist. So it is very business oriented and business format and business mindset and everything. But what it is a campaign where the salesperson, you choose your target persona, you invite selected prospects to short interviews, you ask like truly thoughtful questions that really dig into their knowledge about a particular subject. You then turn those interviews into, maybe a blog post, of a LinkedIn article. If you're doing video and if they don't mind their faces being shown, do a video on it. Do a full video, chop it up in pieces. You've got all kinds of different ways to do that. And then you share and promote the finished piece. They should be sharing and promoting themselves as well, because you're going to provide them with all that information. And then you use those assets, and here I'm talking about the content assets specifically, not your prospect being an aspect. You use the content assets to continue the conversation with that person and then hopefully create new ones as well. So, as we've been saying several times, it's important to not pitch at any point during this process. Your goal is to continue the conversation. And I mean, I'm just going to leave it there because we do go into how to do things a little bit more down the line a little bit. But your ultimate goal is to continue the conversation so that, you may get into more of a sales based conversation down the line. If you do, you're already coming in again with providing value, with hopefully building trust with them so that you are seen as an expert in their minds because you've been sharing information, exchanging information, and having a very thoughtful conversation with them throughout this entire process, Stan.
Yes, and this goes hand in hand with what we talk about when it comes to engaging with your audience and commenting on their content to
Hmm.
build visibility both for them and for you so that you become a known quantity. And so this is a next step in that process rather than trying to go straight into a sales conversation. You're taking a little bit more time to build a deeper relationship.
Yeah.
And so I'll just continue because the real value in this, even though we're talking about the interview, the real value is not the interview itself. That's the starting point, but it's what the interview does both for you and the person that you're interviewing. Because for you, for both of you really, it helps to deepen your relationship. You get to know each other better when you're talking to each other. It's a more in-depth conversation than you would normally have outside of a sales conversation. It helps the interviewee build credibility. Now, conversely, based on the questions that you ask, it helps you build credibility with them as well. And it's going to lead to content for you. As Bob mentioned, whether that's in the form of video snippets or written content, even audio content, whatever the case may be, it's a source of content for you. Down the road, it will lead to follow-up opportunities. You'll be able to get back in touch with them because you already have a relationship, and it may also open the door to other decision makers within their organization in the future. Bob, anything else to add?
I think that the point that you just said about opening the door for follow-up conversations with others within the company is really important because you may end up speaking with someone who you think is a decision maker, but they end up being like a gatekeeper or a champion. Well, not champion, not gatekeeper. Forget I said that. A champion for you. You should still interview that person because that person, not only because they would be a champion for you, they understand more than likely everything that you would ask a decision maker. But when you're done with that interview and everything else happens that we're talking about here, your champion actually can kind of sell you in air quotes internally because they know everything that we've talked about with the decision maker. We're just applying it to the champion as well. They are much easier and much more likely to want to refer you because everything that you would build with the person who you're trying to sell to, you built with the what's the word I'm looking for? My
Interviewing,
scrambled brain is kicking in a little bit here, Stan. The champion.
interviewing the champion.
Champion. Yeah, yeah, champion. You can build these types of relationships with champions too. It's still great content for you. That champion will be able to introduce you into the other people at the company with a much higher comfort level because you have already talked to them and built a relationship with them.
Yeah, and that the power of building relationships, this just dawned on me, is yes, it can lead to internal referrals within their company down the road, They may either move to another organization, which may be
Ooh.
a prospect for you, or they may be a source of introductions or referrals to you, even to other companies down the road. So the power of a great relationship can't be overstated.
And it starts with the power of a great interview. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. So now I'm going to quickly walk you through the actual process. This is a high level type of thing. The details are in the ebook. This is going to tell you exactly what and how you'll do things. Again, that's at socialsaleslink.com/interview. So buckle up, kiddies. This is a little bit long, but we're going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. So first, you have to choose the right people. This isn't about interviewing just anyone. It's about being intentional. This is where the whole campaign either works or it falls apart. You're looking for people who represent the audience you want to understand better. That could be ideal buyers. It could be industry experts, a local business leader, people who are close enough to your target market that their insights will matter. So you can go outside a specific company if you'd like, especially if you're just getting started with this stuff. You may actually want to go a little adjacent to things so that you can start building your credibility while hopefully getting some contacts down the line out of those people before you go into the actual people who are at the companies that you want to sell into. But you know your insights and the insights that you gain from them will matter no matter who you're interviewing. But the more focused your persona and the better the conversation and the better content that comes out of it, it's all good. Seriously, it's all good. The other thing is, don't chase volume here, chase relevance. A list of 10 well chosen people beats 100 random names every time. At that point, you might as well be cold calling. So you definitely want to, zero in on exactly who you want to talk to, not just, people from a call sheet. Second of all, invite them to a conversation, not a sales call. You have to be absolutely sure that they know this is a conversation and not a sales call. So in other words, you're not going to be saying, "Hey, can I tell you what to do?" and snap your fingers and do all of the stereotypical salesperson stuff. What you are saying is, "I'm putting together something valuable, and I think that your insight belongs in it." That's a very different invitation. So your outreach should be short. The topic should be clear. So you do have to decide a topic ahead of time. The time, excuse me, commitment should be specific, and the value should be obvious. And again, details on this are in the ebook. Third, we're going to get down to the questions now, but you have to ask the right questions. The quality of the interview is usually hidden inside the quality of the questions. If you ask surface level questions, you're going to get surface level answers that anyone can write anywhere, and no one's going to glean anything from that. If you ask questions that uncover rather patterns, mistakes, lessons, that's the type of stuff people actually want to hear. Now, if you're feeling like a little stuck about what those are, you can use Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever your favorite AI LLM is, to generate those relevant interview questions and topic prompts. In our ebook at socialsaleslink.com/interview, there's even a sample prompt structure for creating questions and intro paragraphs. So that right there is a reason why that you may want to download that thing. Fourth, you run the interview like a human being. And this is so incredibly important. So you'll set expectations, make the purpose clear, listen well, share your own perspective only when it helps. Don't pitch while you're sharing your perspective. It's got to be genuine perspective, and pay attention to the moments that reveal future opportunity. But you're going to save those moments, obviously, for the future. So, maybe sometimes you've heard a podcast where it seems very obvious that they have a set number of questions, and they're just reading from they're reading from their sheet, and the moment it's answered, you can almost hear them go, "Oh, thank God that got answered. I'm going to check that off and go to the next question." And it's just the entire thing just runs like that. You truly want to have a conversation. Now you're going to want to guide it with your questions, especially because you're going to be asking all these people the same types of questions, so you can't really go off into other subjects and not cover what you want to be covered. But at the same time, it's a conversation. Two people are talking, two people are exchanging ideas, so definitely keep that in mind. Fifth, turn that sucker into content. Turn that conversation into content. The transcript that you get from it becomes a blog post, for example, and the blog post becomes an asset. So you can share that, you can repurpose it, you can build on it. If you've done a video, like I said before, like I said before, you can share the whole thing, you can cut it up into snippets, however you want to do it. Your content, though, should have links to participants' LinkedIn profiles and possibly their profile pictures if that's something that they're allowed to do. And quite frankly, if they want to have out there, sometimes people don't want to have that out there. That's fine. Respect that. It also, create additional micro content, short articles, quote images from the transcripts. The interview, just keep in mind, the interview is one conversation. The content that turns one conversation into an asset, that's what you really want there. And then finally, you use that content to expand the relationship. This is where the rubber meets the road. You send them, you send the stuff, you send everything that you've done to the interviewee, you tag them, you continue the conversation after that initial one at that point. Um, Everything that we've said before about about either expanding a conversation with them, expanding a conversation with others within the company, all of that type of stuff. That's where all of this stuff really comes in here. One interview can lead to a second conversation. One post can lead to new introductions. You've got additional outreach inside the company, outside the company, just like Stan said. And as I said before, this is where the magic really happens, Stan.
Yep. Very, very true. And there's so many different, like you mentioned, quotes, and just one good quote is super powerful as the foundation, say, for a LinkedIn post. And again, it makes them look good. And you can use AI to help you find a great quote in the transcript, in
Mhm.
addition to using AI to help you craft good questions.
Yeah, could not agree more. Could not agree more. Now, Stan, let's go ahead and take a look at the flip side or the dark side or however you want to say it. Let's talk a little bit about how and why it can fail.
Yes, how this can go off the rails. And Bob touched on a lot of these points. One is treating the interview like a discovery call in disguise and slipping into talking about you and your solutions as opposed to keeping the discussion focused on them. So even if the conversation is going great, you're talking about them, their perspective, etc. And even if they ask you, I visited your website before we started the conversation, and I there's a challenge that we're dealing with that I think you would be perfect for. Do not let them pull you into a conversation about your solution, even if they want to. You can basically say, hey, appreciate the interest, love to talk to you about that, or I'm happy to talk to you about that on a separate call. The purpose of this call is to get your insights and your take on what's going on in your industry or however you framed it. And Bob touched on not asking generic questions. If you're talking to someone about it who's in the AI industry, don't ask them where they think the AI industry will be in 5 years.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's the short answer if they're
Yeah.
honest. But if you ask about where you think open source and the frontier labs will wind up vis-a-vis each other and their take on that, or something more specific,
Yeah.
you'll get much better responses. A big one is what Bob mentioned about following up, because we said that the value is not just in the interview alone, but you have to follow up. You have to create the content from the interview, You have to share the content with your interviewee. And down the road, when you're reaching out to some of their colleagues, even if you don't get an introduction, you can lead by saying, I had a great interview with your colleague, Bob, would love to share it with you if you're open to it.
Yep.
So use
Yeah.
that to expand.
Yeah, yeah, never forget that the purpose of the actual interview is trust, not immediate conversion.
Yep,
It's not.
that's the key.
It's really not. I mean, we pound into y'all's heads all the time about connect and pitch. This is like a variation of that. I mean, you don't interview and pitch. How's that one? You don't interview and pitch. I
Yes.
just came up with that one. I'm rather proud of myself. So yeah, but yeah, in all seriousness, this is a trust building, value forward conversation. Don't pitch.
Yeah.
So with that, let's talk real quick about how all of this fits into social selling because we are social sellers here, rather. It fits perfectly because this strategy starts with relevance. You're not reaching out randomly, you're reaching out with a topic and a reason that makes sense, or hopefully, and it should make sense to the person that that you want to speak with. It's also permission based. I mean, you're not going to interview someone who doesn't want to be interviewed. Trust me, I was in journalism once upon a time. I know that for a fact. Instead, you're inviting someone into a conversation. You're not forcing your way into their calendar. And it also creates a conversation before any ask, which, in my opinion, is huge. Instead of trying to move on too fast, which a lot of people do. I mean, and it's kind of natural. It forces you to build context, familiarity, and trust first. And of course, the no pitching thing goes without saying. It also gives value first. The other person is not just giving you time, they are gaining visibility because they're being featured in something that someone else is putting out. So it's, maybe outside of their own audience. And they're also just becoming a part of something useful, which I think is cool as well. And maybe most important, it earns the next conversation. I that is a point that cannot be understated. That cannot be understated. The interview leads up to the content. The content leads then to the follow up. The follow up then leads to more relationships, more introductions, more opportunities, maybe with them, maybe with other people in within the company. Quite frankly, you're not going to know this stuff until you have a conversation with them anyhow. Why not start when you already have that trust built due to the initial interview that you've had with them? That's what social selling is all about. It's not pitching first, but it's building trust first. So I think we're going to wrap it up at this point. Stan, do you have anything to add to any of that?
It's beautifully said. So we're not saying that you're not going to sell. Okay, we're just
Right.
saying you're not
That's a
going to
good point.
sell during the interview. After that, the insights that you gain from the interview will give you information that you can use to circle back and essentially say, hey, Bob, I noticed that you mentioned XYZ during our interview. I've been thinking about it. I have a few ideas along those lines. Are you open to a call for us to talk about this later? That is after everything we've just talked about here.
And that's so hugely important because let's say cold call, and we're bashing cold calls here, and I know that, and I just don't care. But at the same time, um, when you go into a cold call situation and you're trying to get their ears to perk up to potential problems, you're kind of looking at their industry, but you're kind of guessing at what their problems is. Guess what? The problems that they're having in their industry, they may not be having. So why not talk to them, just have a genuine conversation, pick out some of the problems that they may be having specifically based on that interview, and then bring those up later. That way, you're a lot more informed. You're speaking to exactly what those concerns are, and you can get a potential sale rolling at that point. But you're getting it rolling based on things that you already know about, and not what you're guessing about just because other people within the industry are having that problem.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so with that, I think as Bryn would say, we're going to bring it in for a landing. So thanks for joining us here on Making Sales Social Live. We're here live every week, so join us next week where we will be back. I'm not sure what we're talking about, but I'm sure it will be just as good as this week's topic. If you're listening to us as a recording on our podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button. We'd like that a lot. That way you can access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. And of course, likes and comments are always appreciated as well. Besides these LinkedIn Lives, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. I wonder where that came from. Where did that idea come from? I wonder. So, catch those episodes as well. If you'd like more information on our podcast, go to socialsaleslink.com/podcast. One last time for the free ebook specifically, socialsaleslink.com/interview. So when you're out and about this week and every week, be sure to make your sales stand
Social.
excellent. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.